Hey everybody, this is Jason Creel and this is the Lawn Care Life. Today I want to explain to you in story form, I want to share with you some stories, but I want to talk to you about why I think learning how to fire customers has actually been, I don't think I'm exaggerating, the greatest improvement I've made in my lawn care business. I'm on my third lawn care business. I've been doing lawn care for quite a while. And I'm going to explain to you why I think it's the greatest thing I've done, and it's not obviously the only thing I've improved. I think making money is important and all this stuff, a lot of things are important, but I really believe that I'm making a true statement. At least that's how I feel today. But again, I want to share it with you in story format of what happened to me today, what happened to me last week, and what's happened to me in the past to come to that conclusion. So I hope the stories are not only helpful for your business, hope I can share them in an entertaining way for you, that you'll enjoy the video. So we're going to get to that real soon. Today's video is sponsored by my friends at Yardbook, yardbook.com, if you are considering a lawn care software. That's the software that I use and have been using for the past 7 years. Check them out. All right, so here's what happened. Today I'm recording this on a Saturday. I was at home and it's springtime. I'm getting a lot of calls for my business, all kind of calls, probably more than I want, to be honest with you. So if you're new to the channel, I'm a solo operator doing weed control and fertilization. I used to mow lawns a lot, but I have 300 and some customers, really not trying to grow huge. I do this and I do YouTube on the side, and I kind of like how things are going right now. So I'm happy with where it is. I am trying to grow, but I'm particular on which customers I'm taking on and try to keep a real tight route and things like that. So today I get a phone call. It's on a Saturday, and I've been getting a lot of phone calls lately. It's springtime, busy time of year, and that's fine. But maybe another day I would have responded a little different. But I get a phone call and say, "Hey, this is Jason." He answers, said, "This is Mr. So-and-so," and I recognize his name. He's somebody who had just signed up in January. I've done 2 applications on his lawn. I said, "Oh, hey, Mr. So-and-so, how are you doing today?" He says this: "I'm doing good. I wish my lawn was doing good." Well, I took about a 5-second pause, okay, because self-control is not an area that I'm strong in at the moment, and certain times, and he may not have meant anything by it, okay. I don't want to rush to assume that that's something he said to cause offense, and maybe I'm too easily offended. I probably am, okay, but I didn't particularly love "I'm doing good. I wish my lawn was doing good." So I take a 5-minute pause. 5-second, not 5 minutes. That would have been a little even more awkward. But try to restrain myself from saying something I'm going to regret, which I've done plenty of times. So I paused. I said, "I wish your lawn was doing good too." And so I might have followed up with something like, "What's going on? You got weeds in the yard?" And he indicated through his next comment that basically, again, I've done 2 treatments on the yard. He indicated basically that his yard was significantly worse than it was last year. It didn't look like this last year. Now, here's what customers don't understand, and I don't have to necessarily go into all the detail, but oftentimes spring weeds you have in your yard are a result of your fall application the year before. Whether or not you did a fall application, what product you used, how effective it was, that's not the only factor, but that is a factor. Okay, well, I wasn't taking care of his lawn in the fall, but I don't have to explain all that to him. And I remember when I go look at his lawn, he paid up front for the year. He had some POA annual, which is a common cool season weed. It can be a little tough to get rid of. I sprayed it. I went back on the second application and fertilized. I saw that a lot of the POA was dying. There was still a little bit more POA. I sprayed it again. He calls me into the house, talks to me. He's a retiree, has a lot of time on his hands, wants to talk. Explain to him about his yard, explain to him about the POA. It's going to go away soon. I'm spraying it again for the second time, trying to make it go away faster, but whatever I don't get, the heat gets it. And then, 6-7 weeks later, he calls me and says, I'm doing good. I wish my lawn was doing good. Well, and then this is how I've progressed as a lawn care business. You may say regressed. I think progressed. And I'd like to hear from you in the comments what you think about this, whether you're a lawn business owner, maybe even a customer. I've had customers saying, you need to improve your customer service. Maybe I do. I probably do. But at the point of this, I'm thinking, and I've been doing this lawn care a long time, and I believe I have a fairly good idea of how to read customers from being around people and dealing with a lot of customers. So And I have all my experience that I can fall back on, knowing that I've dealt with hundreds, possibly thousands of individuals in lawn care, probably not thousands, and I've dealt with hundreds of people in the lawn care business, and I'm not saying I read them all right, get it all right, but I think I typically have a fairly good pulse on what type of customer this is going to be and if it's going to work out long term. So when he says that, and this customer had paid up front for the year, give him a 5% discount, but when he said that, in my mind, I quickly had to think quickly right here, okay? So I'm thinking he's not happy. He's not going to be happy. His yard, I've sprayed it 2 times. He's complaining about something. I've spent extra time on his yard trying to explain stuff. He likes to talk a long time. He's retired. He keeps everything immaculate. His hedge is immaculate, everything. I say this. So I guess I'm sort of processing this in my subconscious quickly. And I go straight to this, okay? And you can tell me what you think. Because at this point, well, let me tell you what my options are. One, I can say, customer, Mr. So-and-so, I am so sorry to hear that your yard has weeds in it. Let me get out there as soon as possible and take care of this. I'm going to make this right any way possible. Now, that's one way you can respond. And if you call Amazon and tell them you got a problem, that's probably how they're going to respond. That's how, if I went to some customer service training, that's probably what they would tell me to say. Okay, but my business model is a little bit different than Amazon's. I'm not saying better. I think they've outdone me by a few dollars, but I think I just have a little different strategy. So that's one thing I could have done. Now, you could have gone the other extreme and get totally offended by somebody complaining, and I went out of my way to get to your yard, and I've told you about this, and I spent time talking to you about this and that and the other, and I blah, 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 and you won't never be happy, and you already fired last time's lawn care company, and now you fire me, and blah. I could have went off on that, and that would have been the other extreme. I would call myself somewhat of a moderate in this situation. I'm not very moderate in most situations, but I guess in this situation, I'm just a moderate. You know, so as a moderate, but a moderate that makes quick decisions. So, and that has some pros and cons to it. So me, moderate Jason, went to this response, and this is what I told him. I said, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Would you like a refund? And you think, Jason, why are you offering a refund? I mean, you don't want to make any attempt to fix it. You know, that's not necessarily what I'm thinking. But here's what I do, and here's my strategy on this, and here's where I think it's worked. When they put the pressure on you, Jason, I've got weeds. They're putting the pressure on me. What am I going to do? I don't want the pressure on me, to be honest with you. I know that I use very good products. I know that I have a knowledge about what I'm doing. I know that I care about my customers. I know that I get a lot of calls for people that want me to take care of their yard. And I also know that there's a certain percentage of the population that I'm not going to make happy. And I'm okay with that. I don't have to be offended by them. I'm not actually mad at this guy. I just know that it's not going to work out long term, or at least I'm making that assumption. I'm jumping that assumption really quickly, but I believe that to be true, that this is not going to work out long term. So I offer him a refund. Now, that does a couple of things. One, I'm serious when I'm offering a refund. Now, I told him, I said, now, not a refund on the 2 applications I've already done. He paid for 7 applications. So I'd be happy to refund your future 5 applications. And I said, you know, not the 2 I've already done. And he agreed to that. He's not an unreasonable person as far as that goes. He said, oh, no, not for what you've done, but the future. So, but by me offering him a refund, it puts it back on him. It puts it back on him in the sense of, wow, if I don't want him living with buyer's remorse. If he doesn't want me taking care of his yard, it's not like somebody that's on oxygen and I'm the only oxygen supplier in town and I'm cutting him off, okay? There's other lawn care companies in town that can come take care of his yard. Now, he tried one last year. He tried me for 2 treatments this year. Eventually, he's going to run out of options, but there's somebody else he can go to. So I'm letting him have freedom. You're not committed to me. I will give you your money back. Any future treatments that you've already paid for, I will gladly refund you. So it does that, and gives him that option. And then 2, what it does is it also, in a sense, lets him know that I am willing to walk away from this, okay? And when I've seen that happen in the past where I had somebody complain, at some point when you tell them, hey, would you like to go with a different lawn care provider? What you do, if they decide to go with a different lawn care provider, good. You don't have to deal with them anymore. If they don't, you've given them a way out. And you basically are saying, I will provide outstanding service for you, but it may not be good enough for you. And so if you want me to continue doing it, you have an option out right now. But moving forward, it's not going to be this way. So I had a lady that was just complain, and I did this to her and said, would you like somebody else? And she didn't cancel on me. You know what? She's a great customer now. She doesn't complain. Her yard looks great. It's great. Everything's great. So you're kind of pushing back a little bit, saying, I'm happy to continue to provide service, but you are going to have to talk to me a little bit more respectful, And so that goes to a customer that called me earlier this week and said he had weeds in his yard. And yes, by the way, lawns have weeds in them. You spray the yards doesn't mean that they'll never have weeds, okay? So it's tough. There's almost no perfect yard, so there's going to be weeds. So a customer calls me last week, says I've got weeds in my yard, but he did it in such a much more respectful way. He says, don't make a special trip out there, but next time you're over here, would you mind coming by checking out? He compliments me. He told me last year my yard has never looked better than it does since you took over, and things like that. I'm not saying you always got to like pump up my ego or anything like that, but speaking to me as a respectful person, guess what? I got out there very quickly and took care of his weeds, okay? He had some problems. I was able to look at him, I was able to talk to him about the weeds, say this is this weed, this is this weed, here's what we can do for this one, here's what we can do for that one. I'm going to spray it today. I'll be back to spray again in a few weeks. If they don't die from this first application, maybe I can finish them off in a few weeks when I come back. Talk to him, provide outstanding customer service, but he treated me with respect. He didn't say, I'm doing good, I wish my lawn was. All right, so I got a couple more stories, but I want to talk to you just for a second about why this is learning how to fire a customer. And the one from the day that he fired me or I fire him, I don't care. I've been fired so many times. As a matter of fact, I think it's great for you to get fired as a lawn business owner, and I think it's great for you to fire somebody so that you can be comfortable with that you're not signing somebody up and it's like, I've got to do everything possible to make them happy no matter what, and we're connected forever. You're not, okay? If they're not satisfied with your service, you can move on. There's freedom to do that, and if either party is not satisfied, they can move on. You have to have attorneys involved. We're not committing together for life. I tell people, I say, I will keep coming to your yard until you fire me. And they sometimes will laugh at that and that sort of thing. But I mean, I really mean it. I was like, I'm going to come. And when you decide that you don't like what I'm doing for the price I'm doing it, then you can hire somebody else. And that's totally fine. I've gotten where I'm much more comfortable with that than I used to be. And I'm really happy about that. So why is this the greatest improvement I've made in my lawn care business? I think because one, money is not the only reason you're in the lawn care business. Now it is a reason. I try to make money. I try to make more each year than I made the year before and do it smarter and faster and better and all that. But that's not the only thing. There's people that have jobs obviously that pay them a lot of money. They're not very happy with what they do. Well, the lawn care business can sort of swallow you whole after a while. You get so consumed with the work and you let the customers start bossing you around, and it gets to the point where you can't handle it. I mean, they're calling you all the time, calling you on the weekends, texting me on Sunday morning when I'm at church that I get a text, I got a weed in my yard. I'm like, yeah, and that weed could have waited till Monday morning, just to be honest with you. Is what I want to tell them. But just no respect for your individual privacy and time. And I tell you what, I want to be excellent at my customer service, but I also want to balance my work and my family and other priorities I have in my life, okay? So when you have a customer that is starting to wear on you, to get rid of them, the emotional, psychological freedom that brings is very significant, and it's worth a significant amount of money, and that's why I'm placing this above money. Obviously, you can't stay in business very well if you're not making money. But a lot of people are making money and not enjoying what they do. and you go into business for yourself to make money, but also, in my opinion, greater than that, is that I can go out there and work a job that I enjoy. I can take pride in my work. I'm building a business. I'm providing a good service to customers who want that, and in return, they are grateful for the work that I provide. Okay? And I don't want anybody, if you're not grateful, that's fine. There is other providers, but I don't want the burden of trying to keep somebody happy who's just a disgruntled person in general. And I'm not saying they're all disgruntled, but they can be difficult to please when it comes to lawn care. And I've come to this conclusion. People, when they retire, go up about 15% on their complaining meter. Okay, so let's say if you were a 15% complainer, you retire, you become a 30% complainer. Well, some people are like a 75% complainer before they retire, and then they retire and they got all this time on their hand, they're sitting around staring at their lawn, they're a 90% complainer as a retiree. Well, I don't want to deal with a 90% complainer retiree who can't walk to the mailbox to get his mail every day without seeing the 4 weeds that are in his yard and just going so berserk over it that he can't handle it. And I'm not saying that was this customer from the day, but some people get so worked up over it, and that's not my burden to bear. My burden is to provide an outstanding service to them, but there's freedom in not feeling like I have to meet every single demand from every demanding customer, because I don't have to. And they don't have to put up with me if they don't like it, and I don't have to put up with them. I think that's the way it should work, and it's given me a lot of freedom coming to that conclusion. Now, here's the other part about that. Again, I'm basing this on my experience. I talk about the lady who I kind of pushed back on, and now she's one of my best customers. She doesn't complain. Her yard looks great, and I think she's happy. I'm happy, but I had to put up a wall saying, like, listen, I'm not going to have you call me and complain. And, oh, yeah, the guy today, he said both my yards on both my neighbors' yards look better than mine. That's fine if you give me more than 2 treatments. I just started, and we're talking about April where the grass is barely even green, and I don't want to be compared to your neighbor who may have mowed his grass in March, which makes the Bermuda grass turn green. You may not have mowed yours at all. Again, he may be benefiting from a great fall application that's kept out his spring weeds, where you might have had a sorry fall application, or possibly even fired your previous lawn care provider before the fall application, which is why you got a lot of spring weeds. But I don't have to go into all the detail about that. And here's the thing too, I jump to conclusions pretty quickly on these people. Do I miss them sometimes? Do I get so quick on pulling the trigger on somebody and just saying, hey, do you want a refund, and getting rid of them? And they could have been salvaged. I could have went out there and dealt with this guy's weeds, and he might have been a great customer for the next 10 years. Possibly. I might miss some. I will admit that. I probably have missed some. But I think I probably get a lot of them right now. And I save myself a lot of headache in the process, because I know, I'll give you another example. This is about 2 years ago, I think, maybe 2.5 years ago. I had a customer, he had some weeds popping up about this time of year. April's tough for us weed control people, because people are just now starting to mow their grass, but they're not mowing it regular. There's sometimes some weeds popping up. It can be a challenging month in some aspects. Well, this guy calls me, it's about this time of year. He had some weeds in his yard. I responded within 2 hours from the time he called. I was out there spraying those weeds. Well, that wasn't good enough. We ended up on some sort of vacation. I remember when he called, and he was not happy. I forget what happened. I don't know. I just remember I responded within 2 hours. I was out there spraying his yard, and now he called back about something else. And I got very upset about that, and told him that he could, move on with somebody else. So I think about another lady when I was mowing lawns. This has been over 10 years ago. But every day, I've shared this before, but just about every time we go to her house to mow her lawn, she'd have a full-page letter of all the things we missed on her yard. We were out there picking up little twigs in her yard. It was never good enough, okay? Guess what? She fired us. Guess what? The guy that I was there within 2 hours, he fired me. Guess what? Today's guy, he was not happy, so we separate. He fired me, I fired him, whatever you want to call it. The trend that I keep coming back to is most of the time, when there's some sense of unhappiness in the customer, and I'll even say in the lawn care professional, it's usually not going to work out. Maybe that's because it's me and I've got a quick trigger to just move on from. And I'm not the greatest at smoothing over difficult situations, and I'm not trying to grow a huge business. It's like almost like I've got a restaurant, and my restaurant's it's almost full. You know what I'm saying? I'm a solo provider here. I've got a restaurant, and there's not many seats left in the restaurant to feed people. And I got somebody over there that's been eating chips and salsa for about 3 hours and not ordering anything off the menu. And I'm wanting to move them out of the restaurant and put somebody else over there that is going to be a more profitable person for me. So I'm okay when somebody moves on, because I know that there's more people out there who will be a great customer and appreciate what I do and not complain about it. But I guess the conclusion I've come to is, if they're going to fire me, if it's not going to work out long term, why drag out the process and make it more painful for both of us? So I give them an option to get out right away. Do you want a refund? He took me up on a refund. I put that guy's amount, his annual amount was $400 something, whatever. That was for 2 of his 7 treatments that I already completed. So I did a little bit of math and figured out what I owed him to refund his 5 remaining treatments. I put a check in the mail today. I said, I'll have you a check in the mail today. And no hard feelings on his part, I don't think. No hard feelings on my part, but we're moving on, and I don't have to deal with it. And now I've got a new seat, a table at my restaurant waiting for a new potential customer right here. So if they're going to fire you anyway, or you're going to fire them, get there as soon as possible so that you don't have to deal with the emotional and psychological turmoil that comes with a difficult customer. If it's weighing on you, then you need to stand your ground and give them a way out. Don't do it rudely or impolitely, but just kindly give them a way out and tell them, hey, if you want to continue, then we're going to have to work together here, okay? You can tell me I've got weeds in the yard, but you got to do it a little bit more respectful way, because I just don't respond too well to that. And that's something I can probably grow in. The customer can probably grow in. But honestly, I'd rather just move on and find somebody else who I think is going to be a better fit for my business. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the story, and hopefully you learned something about this and how you can deal with it. I do really think this is important. And so if you've got people that are weighing on you, I want to give you the freedom to move on. I had somebody message me the other day, and they were talking about somebody leaving toys all in their yard, and they talked to them about it, and they didn't want to do much about it, and he was asking me, what should I do? And I was like, man, move on. Just move on. I mean, don't even deal with that stuff. There are people out there that will appreciate you if you work hard, charge a reasonable price, show up on time, and do great lawn work. There is a lot of people, the majority of my customers are absolutely great, appreciate what I do, pay on time, and the ones that don't, it's fine. They can be my competitor's problem. I'm Jason Creel. If you hadn't done so, I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel. I've been on here for over 11 years on the Lawn Care Life channel. I've got a brand new channel called Fix-A-Lawn, Fix-A-Lawn, and we encourage you to go subscribe to that. I've got into the tall mowing grass. I'm going to try to do some stuff from a weed control perspective on like finding the nastiest yard I can find and try to fix it and make it look beautiful. So it's kind of like the before and after renovations I'm doing on that channel. If you're in the lawn business or thinking about getting into it, you can go to lawncarelife.com. That's where I have a lot of resources, video courses, documents, programs, weed control program, all kind of stuff, lawncarelife.com. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you in the next video.